Welcome to the On Par podcast. We're back here at Casa de Kicker again with the coach, Sean Kicker. How's it going, Sean?
Good, Drew. How are you today?
Good. It's nice to be back in the pseudo studio with you. We're not at Winners Award Group like usual, but it's a pleasure to be over at your house here in Cooper City again.
No, we're going to be making some changes to the podcast in the future. We've got Lewis Damas, who is working for the first team now. I've known Lewis for 14, 15 years. And we finally got him to come on full time. He's going to be based out of the office at Eagle Trace. He went to college for audio soundboarding. Mm-hmm. So he has all of the equipment that we need to take the show to the next level. So I'm excited to see what we go to next, because we've been kind of bouncing around, just trying to put the content out there. Struggling with technology a little bit, but it'll be good to have a professionally done show like it was when we first started. Those episodes were great.
Right. And I know that you want to get more head pros on. You want to get some more superintendents on. Like we had Darren on over at Old Florida.
Great content.
He was phenomenal. He blew my mind. Yeah. And I like learning new things and kind of asking questions about things that I don't know. And even some of the stuff that was, outside of your wheelhouse as a head pro for a long, long time. I mean, that guy knew more about grass and bugs than, pretty much anybody that I've ever talked to.
No, I've always said the most important position to hire at any private club is the superintendent.
Well, and we've seen more rain down here in South Florida than I think I've ever can remember. And I lived here most of my childhood and most of my adult life. Yeah. And I mean, the courses are just eaten up.
The courses that don't have great drainage, and the courses that don't do enough aerification, the courses that don't have the proper chemical balance in the soil, they struggle.
Well, or that haven't been redone in
a long
10,
time.
12, 15 or more years. Rich Rogers taught me that because he knows more about golf than I'll ever probably learn, just like you do.
But exclusively to South Florida and tropical. You up north, they don't need to redo those courses every 10, 20, 30. Some of them have been the exact same for the last 60 years. And there's nothing, they have to do. Here in South Florida, this is jungle weather, man. You know what wants to grow here? Weeds. And lots of them.
Look, the head of my 3-wood is in a swamp at Streamsong. So trust me, I know about playing golf in a swamp.
Yeah.
It's gone forever.
You go.
An alligator might have eaten it by now.
Look at when they cut him open, it's going to have Drew's golf club in his stomach.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you look at courses that have been redone, okay? And let's just use Pembroke Lakes as an example.
Sure.
That one was done, I don't know how many years ago. Plantation Preserve, okay? They're at that 15-plus year mark. Those courses are struggling with their turf grass. It is what it is. And whether it's Paspalum or Bermuda or any other of the hybrids that are out there, weeds become an issue.
I was at Jacaranda a couple weeks ago.
They're always redoing. Every year they're doing something there.
They need to do something because there was weeds and the whole fairway was a weed.
The west course or the east course? The east course.
It was bad. Like you might have left. It was not playable almost for your level of golfer. I don't know if I would consider it playable.
Was it goose grass or was it bull grass?
That's outside of my intelligence.
The goose grass is the stuff that grows nice and tall. The bull grass is that patchy stuff.
It was bull grass then for sure. So
and that stuff is so aggressive. That's where Grand Palms got into trouble. Is they got that stuff on the greens and they tried to treat it, but they used the wrong product and it killed everything. The whole greens were just decimated.
I might have to edit this out so that the word doesn't get out, but the most fun and the best kept greens I've been on recently was the Bridges at Springtree. They were in really good shape.
I was there last night, and that course is looking fantastic.
It was great, and we had 8 of us go out there, so 2 foursomes back to back, and then we wound up, having some dinner afterwards because I like to do the magic of business on the 19th hole. Of course. And it was a really long round, and I won't call out the 2 people that I was playing with that are very new golfers, but you know them, and they reloaded a little too often, and it turned a 2 hour and 20-minute normal round into like a 3 hour and 20-minute round.
I hope you played all 18 holes over there.
Dude, I played all 18 holes,
Okay.
but it was hot too, and it's been brutally hot down here.
Ridiculous.
I mean, 95 degrees on October 1st with 100% humidity or some crazy number.
So you couple that super massive heat with all that moisture, and most of the greens are struggling.
Which
really struggling.
And we talked about on a previous podcast, the TGL, and how they're building an indoor stadium up there in Palm Beach. And I understand why it's an indoor stadium, because, I mean, it is freaking hot and rainy and floody, and, you know, nothing compared to the hurricane just flooded out like half of the West Coast and then into Georgia and the Carolinas. But, you know, flooding has been like a regular thing here in Broward County and Palm Beach too, but it's been brutal.
It has been.
It's hard to play golf.
Looking forward to the dry season.
Yeah.
That everyone calls winter.
When are you going to get a simulator in here so I can just come practice in your house?
We can go to the simulators anytime we want.
You know, you say
I don't
that.
need to put it in my house.
You say that. You also tell me that we're going to go play all these great golf courses, and I need you to start coming through, Sean. I mean, it's time to start playing some really cool places that
I
you
am
can,
a little
you
spoiled.
Can, you know.
The problem with me is that I never set these things up.
I know.
I'm the one that's asked to set them up, and I go play Medalist, Jupiter Hills, Pine Tree. What's the one in Boynton Beach that you love? High Ridge, Shell Bay.
I mean,
you know,
thanks. I thank my good friend Ed Colo when he was not retired from Comcast a couple of years ago. High Ridge was a special opportunity for me. I mean, as a bogey golfer, let's say, I shouldn't be allowed on that course.
It's just a different level of golf.
And I'll tell you what, that was one of my best days that I've had hitting the ball and putting. I played really well at High Ridge.
It inspires you to play well when you're surrounded by those conditions.
Well, and I was with great people. Lou Chiera from Winners Award Group, great guy. I mean, I hang out with him 3 or 4 days a week now at the shop. Mike Dino was there, and Ed, which, you know, we love Ed. So, you know,
hard not to love Ed.
Yeah, and if you want to go to Ed's tournament, it's a really fun one at Pembroke Lakes, which you just mentioned. Ready, the number 2, manup.com. Great charity, really fun golf tournament. And, you know, we always like to help our friends with their charity events. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But one thing I've seen a lot, not even a lot, but just occasionally in the news is there's a golfer named Haley Davidson that did the gender reassignment surgery, I think is the proper term. And there's a little bit, it seems like it's kind of muted compared to like the swimming and the boxing and the UFC, and maybe they're trying to downplay it, but it's been a little bit controversial, and I don't really even want to talk about it really, but it's kind of bugging me that it's such a controversial thing, and I feel like there's a way to just nip it in the bud, and I haven't figured it out yet. So, you know, how is the LPGA dealing with that? Or are they just like, look, Nelly Korda's kicking everybody's ass and she's got the best swing of any professional golfer? Because I've seen a lot about that too, is, you know, like if you want to be a better golfer, watch Nelly Korda's swing, not Bryson DeChambeau. Because, you know, none of us are going to be able to swing out of our shoes without snapping our ankles or knees off like Bryson. But Nelly's swing is so fundamentally sound and perfect, if I may say so, that's the, and they call it swing porn, which I think is a terrible name for it, but you know, like if you want to learn how to swing better, watch Nelly swing, not the guys.
Let's use a different P word, poetry.
I like that much better.
Yeah.
I like that much better.
A little more
swing poetry.
Swing poetry. A lot of the women have very fundamentally sound swings, and they swing at a tempo that is more realistic to what the average person can swing. And I say the average person swings way too hard and gets way little out of it versus, the LPGA players.
If I swing hard, I can speak for myself, of course. If I swing hard, that ball is going 10 feet. Forget about 10 yards. It's going like 10 feet.
Now, mind you, they play much shorter golf courses.
Okay.
Okay, they play much shorter golf courses, but all of professional golf is about your wedges and your putter. Period. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, so the argument that Haley Davidson, formerly a man, makes is that she doesn't really have an advantage after the surgery and the therapies and the testosterone and whatever else, and it's above my science pay grade, so I haven't gotten deep into it. How much truth is there to that? Is there a distinctive? I mean, because I look at tennis. When you know, like Serena Williams said that she played in the men's league, she would be 6-0, 6-0 against Andy Roddick. He would just obliterate her because the men play a different game than the women's tennis.
And she would be the greatest example of, she is a large, strong, athletic woman. She's as badass as they come,
and dominant in the ladies division.
Sport.
Yeah, for
literally,
sure.
You know, arguably the greatest of all time female tennis player. And she's right. There's a difference between men and women, and we created women's sports just for that purpose, to allow women to have the same opportunity as the men. Granted, viewership is, except for women's tennis viewership is very similar to men's. Sometimes it outranks the men's. I would prefer to watch women's tennis because to me it's a more aesthetically attractive game.
Well, and Sampras and Agassi are long retired because that was fun to watch.
But they started the power era, and now everything is smash, 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 100 plus miles per hour, nonstop.
Sampras was ahead of his time. I mean, it looked like they were shooting his serve out of a cannon.
Yeah, and now he would be average.
He would be average now. Yeah,
some of the players that are out there today, and the height advantage.
Yeah,
these guys are 6'5", 6 foot, 6'6", 6'7".
Men are traditionally taller than women. The average height, that's not in dispute. So
their bone density.
So
their muscular strength.
Does Haley Davidson, I mean, as the 42nd or 52nd or whatever the number is, have an advantage because she was born as a male? Or not really? Like, that's I don't understand.
The answer that I come up with is yes. I don't think that biological men, whether they've transitioned or not, belong in women's sports.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would, and this is a crazy solution to the problem, is I would say, look, you know, I know a lot of men, and most of them would keep sharp objects away from that area of their body as a general rule. And I think if you want to compete with the women so badly that you're willing to go through that process of literally removing those body parts, which I can't even fathom for myself. Like, I can't even fathom that, you know, okay, fine. Like, if that's going to be the line, if you have to have a line, that would be it for me. But, you know, I don't know. I'll probably get canceled for saying that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's just a weird situation.
It is a very weird situation. At the end of the day, I don't know what you do about it. There has been talk of having a transgender league. Yeah. Exactly, where the people that have gone through this, that chose to transition.
But what do you have, like 0.5% of the population?
But on the flip side, you take a female that has transitioned to be a male, they're going to play on the PGA Tour with the men?
Well, so that brings up an interesting question. So, like, the TGL, would Nelly Korda be able to go into one of those teams and compete? Like, I'm talking maybe like the top 3 or 4 or 5.
That's a totally different subject.
It is a totally different.
Annika Sorenstam and Michelle Wie both played in PGA Tour events from the same tees as the men.
And how did they do?
And Michelle Wie was averaging the same distance as the average tour male player at the time.
Which is really impressive.
Tall. She's a 6 foot tall woman. And, they did okay. They didn't, they did okay. They held their own.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. That's a female as a real female, as a traditional female, real men. It's a different story. Look, the controversy that happened in the Olympics.
Yeah.
There was a transgender
boxing.
We never quite got the truth. Is
nobody has
social
any
media
clue.
took it
Yeah,
off to another extent. And if you do, you have to research these things because you can't get the truth from social media, and we know you can't get the truth from the regular media. They just they won't tell you the truth.
Sure.
They keep their agenda, what their agenda is, and they'll shy you away from a subject, and they won't let you so you have to really dig to get to the research. That allegedly transgender male, she was actually born female and raised as a girl.
Okay.
She was. And there's pictures of her with her father as a young girl. She looks like a girl. She's dressed like a girl.
Okay.
She's being treated like a girl. The problem is that she was born with a condition where she has both genitalia.
Okay.
And
which is super rare, I'm
also
sure.
very, very rare. And it produces higher testosterone levels.
Okay.
Testosterone is the magic ingredient that makes a human being bigger, stronger, faster.
Okay.
And so that becomes the issue where they start testing the testosterone levels for obvious reasons, performance enhancing drugs.
10 years ago, this was a lot simpler.
Yeah.
It just was.
Yeah, it was. But at the end of the day, it's you're talking about such a small
of course. It's a minute
portion of the
percentage,
population.
Yeah. But it seems to be like a hot topic for some reason. Like it's one of the most talked about things. And I don't really pay attention to TV. You know that about me. I try and avoid it. And social media is probably just as bad at this point.
Yep.
Even on LinkedIn, when I'm on LinkedIn for business and connecting with people and networking and picking up new golf friends and promoting charity events. And I still see political stuff and different things on LinkedIn even, which is supposed to be for business.
Right.
But it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. I figured I'd throw it out there, just see, because
there are certain women that are making a big noise about it because they had their ability to compete with their fellow gender females, and now all of a sudden that's being invaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had to fight just to be able to have equal opportunity on the sports field through Title IX, which worked,
right,
and it continues to work. But now you got males that are trying to transition and say that they're women and to be able to compete when they couldn't compete against the men.
Yeah.
But now they're beating the girls.
Yeah. Well, that was the reason why Joe Rogan's podcast got famous.
Yeah.
Because they had a male that was fighting in the women's UFC. And, Joe Rogan knows about UFC, obviously. At the time, he was still a commentator. I think he still is. And his podcast was not that popular. And he said, look, this man shouldn't be beating up women, which I was always taught not to fight girls or hit girls my whole life. So I didn't think that it was that controversial. But his ratings went vertical like this when he said that.
Right.
And I'm looking at it going, all he did was say, don't beat up women if you're a man.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't understand why that made him podcast. He's the most popular podcaster on the earth.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Now everything he says everything his guests come on and say could be construed as controversial. But it wasn't that way when, his podcast was a baby.
So you're trying to make sure that gets us noticed?
I've been trying to get canceled since day one. And the only times we've gotten canceled, no one ever heard those episodes.
Right.
So, and, Curfton lost his bet of who would get canceled first. And I'm not going to say who. But Curfton had all his money on one of us,
right? And
the other one got the podcast taken down first. So I'm
not through any fault of mine.
And I don't think you said anything controversial in that one either. But anyway, I'm trying to get us canceled, Sean. Let's go. Let's get canceled.
Let's effing go.
Let's get canceled. So. But I know you got a couple of first tee events coming up, so let's talk about the wine tasting.
You've got the wine tasting experience that is October the 15th at the Lauderdale Yacht Club. There's still tickets being sold right now. We're still taking sponsorships. Okay. The Game Changer sponsorship is very affordable if you're a small business or big corporation. It's $2,500. You're going to get 4 tickets to the wine tasting experience, and you're going to support a great cause.
Beautiful.
This year, we've grown our outreach programs and our overall reach. Last year, we did just under 1,400 overall students in Broward County. I mean, that's an enormous amount of people.
And it was like 400 or 600 a few years ago, right?
Yeah, when I
3
took
years
over in
ago or something like that?
2001, it was high 600s maybe. So we
triple the size.
Almost tripled the size. And we've increased our partnerships, and we've doubled the number of special needs. So people with disabilities, we do programs throughout the county for them throughout the year. And the veterans programs, between the PGA Hope Partnership that I'm the lead for Broward County and our ongoing veterans programs, we're going to exceed 140 veterans in 2024.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a nice thing.
And the other thing that really impressed me with your program specifically down here is you have a huge amount of young women. Yeah. And I've met and talked to and had interactions at charity events and first tee events and lessons with them. And they are the consummate professionals. They are, let's say, for a lack of a better word, raised right and do all the right things. Yeah. And those women specifically are going to be the leaders of, all of these companies, middle market companies, bigger companies, etc., because they learn life skills through golf.
Absolutely.
And
that's our job.
I'm not with the first tee. I volunteer a lot. I give my time. I give my money, but I'm not employed by the first tee, right? So I have an outside looking in perspective of, girls like Isabella and is her name Aubrey? Aubrey
Nancy.
Phenomenal. Those are the two that I would use as prime examples of, you can tell that those two women are going to be very successful.
Yeah. Audrey.
If they're not going to be professional golfers, they're going to be wildly successful with whatever they do. That's my prediction.
100%. And I don't think either one of them are going to be professional golfers, but they are going to be definitely powerhouses in the world. They are leaders.
Yeah. I mean, when they graduate, I want to be first in line to maybe hire them to work for me.
Absolutely.
As a business owner, that's my thinking is, man,
I want them.
I want
you
them.
to work for me.
And the guys too. I mean, I met you have one guy that wants to be the president of the United States, right?
Yeah, Josiah.
Yeah. So
Josiah
I mean,
Bowen,
but
senior at Pinecrest.
If he decides he just wants to be staying honest for the rest of his life and not get into politics, I would hire that guy.
Yeah, he's a good.
Did I say? Am I canceled twice in this episode?
No, you're not canceled.
Let's go. All right, good. So, so those, so you got the wine tasting. What's the next event after that? Or it's not planned yet. It's going to be in January or something.
We might do another Connect event. Haven't decided yet. We might do another Connect event at Top Golf or at All Golf.
And maybe another 100-hole challenge event. You were talking to Brad, my buddy Brad, yesterday about that, about maybe doing one firefighters versus cops.
I have been trying to get the Guns and Hoses event going for the last couple of years.
That would be fun.
I've just been so busy with doing literally everything else.
I hear you.
That I haven't gotten to that yet, but I will get to that. And I think that is going to be another great event.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then, we got a couple charity events that just passed. One was the Girl Power Rocks. They mentor young women. One was the Kappa Alpha Psi Benevolent Foundation for Miramar and Pembroke Pines. They mentor young men. And then upcoming, we've got the Children's Harbor Golf Tournament, which I'm actually the co-chair of the committee. And of course, Winners Award Group's doing 90% of their swag. So You're going to get a really nice swag bag at that one. And the awards are going to be second to none, of course.
Of course.
And that's October 28th at Grand Oaks. There's maybe a 1 or 2 foursomes left at this point. So children'sharbor.org if you want to sign up for that one. And then our good buddy Ed Colo and Mike Dino are going to fund their men's conference that comes up in March with a first Friday of December at Pembroke Lakes. So you can go to ready2manup.com for that one. But I think that's all the upcoming events, right?
That's pretty much it.
I didn't miss any. That's a lot, but it's all fun stuff.
It is fun stuff, and you enjoy doing that stuff and those charity events, and it's been a brilliant take for you to transition from what you were doing, which also made sense for what you were doing. I mean, you were in the recruiting business, and so the more people that you can meet, the more effective you are in your job. But now what you've hybrided into is you're in the awards business. Okay. And you're in the corporate gifts business. And so what makes sense is to know who's running all of the charity events, where they are, when they are, and you get to play golf in all of these events as well.
Well, that and do podcasts at them, and help them promote. And obviously, we get more eyes and ears on our podcast by doing good in the community, which is something that you have inspired me since I met you because of your passion for helping the kids. And I always say, like, yeah, man, Sean, I don't know what it is, but I remember we were at our previous studio in Fort Lauderdale for the grand opening, and a random kid, 5 years old, 4 years old maybe, he walked in, he saw you smiling, he gave you a high five, and I'm like, what is going on? You know that kid? He's like, no, I don't have no idea who that kid is.
Dude, I just love kids, and I love giving back. I've always said, givers gain.
Amen.
The more you give, the more it comes back to you.
Rich Rogers, when I met him, said the first book you should read is The Go-Giver by Dr. Bob Berg. And, we've talked about it on some of our more business-focused podcasts. This one's more golf-focused, of course, but on some of our ones where we've had business owners talking about their physical therapy office or their chiropractic office. And, the common thread with the people that we like to hang out with and trust and refer business to is not just golf. It's also that go-giver mentality of, the more I help other people, the more my life will be fulfilled and good karma is going to come back to me.
Absolutely, no doubt. And, I can't tell you how many people in my industry, PJ professionals, if they have a situation where their employment situation has changed, okay, or their contract situation has changed, you know who the first person they call?
Who?
They call me. And I listen to what they have to say, and then I just try and give them the best advice that I can. And then I take it a step further. I try to connect them with the next opportunity that's right for them. And they're so appreciative of that.
100%. I got a call from a friend of ours, and I'm not going to say his name, but he said, hey, look, you know what? This industry that I'm in, it's not going to be for me long term. If you hear of anything out there, I know you were a headhunter, which you mentioned earlier. And I do. I still have business contacts that ask me, hey, I need to hire another salesperson. And guess what? Very few companies will hire a recruiting firm to hire salespeople for them.
Interesting.
Maybe a sales leader or a sales manager, but sales reps, they don't usually want to pay a recruiting firm because there's a lot of turnover. So it's hey, you know what? I know somebody that just went to the HOA division of Hotwire Communications.
Oh, okay.
And he told me the other day, like, yeah, if you get anybody that's a real rock star salesperson, send me their name and number. I'd like to talk to them. Yeah. And it just worked out, right? I mean, I knew this guy was looking for a new career in staying in sales.
Yep.
And another friend said, hey, look, I need salespeople. And I said, yeah, you know what? Guess what? Everything happens for a reason. I got one for you.
It does. And I think that's why when we ask for help, everyone tends to come to our aid.
Yeah, I mean,
because they know that we do the same for them.
That's a perfect segue into when I got selected to be the chairman of the voluntold that I'm going to be the chairman of the Children's Harbor Golf Tournament. Ilan Lewinger, a good friend of ours, jumped right on board.
Right.
And then Marty Applebaum jumped right on board. And then Jason Ross, and then Karen Ross, and then boom, Jen Davis, and a bunch of other people. And then Winners Award Group made a 10% back for whatever any of their sponsors order for swag and awards. We're going to give that back to Children's Harbor. So it just fell. I needed help because you know how much work it is to create events and golf tournaments specifically. It takes a village is not a popular term, but it really applies here.
It does.
But I got a ton of great, and then Ilan and I were like, let's just be co-chairs. So now I'm not the guy anymore. It's me and Ilan are the guy.
Yeah, and you're delegating.
Well, and yes, and we had a lot, and the team at Children's Harbor, Tiffany Dogie, the executive director, and Julie, their event planner. I mean, everybody has just, I've never seen a golf tournament nearly sell out a month before the tournament until now.
Yeah.
Except maybe one of the first T1, a couple of the first T1s that have been, and maybe Nick's camp, because Lou and Nick have been doing it for 31 years.
Right.
That one may sell out 3 weeks before the date. But most of the ones I've been involved with, they're still begging for golfers a week before the tournament.
Most are, yeah. But if you have the right leadership and the right committee, it goes so much better. So much better as you learn.
And I tell you, man, I mean, the people that are supporting that nonprofit has grown, because one of their goals, they've never done a golf tournament before.
No, they
do all kinds of other events, right? I've been to one where I wore a cowboy hat at a gala. I've been to one where, they had people do a mock wedding. I've been to one that had a Havana Nights theme, that they had cigar rollers, and they do some really
cool stuff.
Really, I missed their cigar and whiskey one because I was in Stream Song, losing my 3-wood to the alligators. But I tell you, like, that would be one that I would not have missed.
Right.
And then, they just have a ton of really great people supporting the go-givers, support that nonprofit.
And it's a lot of the same old faces. It's the philanthropic people that
are involved in 5 different.
Yeah, and we know them all. Know them all.
Mark Infante, Mike Wild is involved in that tournament.
And they're involved with multiple charities.
100%.
Multiple charities.
100%.
The Greg Thompsons of the world that are huge givers. He's with First Tee. He's a big supporter of Junior Achievement, which is another great organization.
He gives a ton of money to his alma mater.
Mike Wild and Mark Infante, huge supporters of Boys and Girls Clubs of Broward County, but now they're also huge supporters of First Tee. So it all comes back to making their community a better place. And that's what we're trying to do.
No, and I mean, that's what we should be doing, right? I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah. Because if you don't, you know what it turns into.
Amen. So listen, support these charities.
Yes.
Keep listening to the On Par podcast. We'll catch you guys next week, and thanks so much for listening.
Take care.